Hi friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing some of the new release items from Sweet November Stamps' amazing Mermaid release. These are some quick looks at the stamp sets that I got from the release. I don't have everything, so if you want to see the full release, make sure that you go check out the website. I'll have it linked down below. But this is a YouTube hop celebrating this release. And one winner is going to get the whole release. I think it's 10 stamps. So there's only 4 videos to hop through as well. So if you're already here, you only have 3 more to go, which to me is like one of the best hops ever. I like seeing what people make, but sometimes, let's be honest, the hops get a little overwhelming. So, yeah, all the details will be down in the description for you as far as the hopping. And if you do hop along, good luck to you. For my card today, I'm using this new stamp, which is the June Pearl Dragon and the Sentiment. So stinking cute. I love this set so much. And then this is actually an older set called the Deep that I brought out of my stash. I had played with the new kelp background builder in my Instagram hop card because there is also an Instagram hop going on right now. I'll leave that link down in the description as well. So yeah, I had already played with that. I wanted to change it up. So I pulled out an old favorite, and we're going to be creating this really cool, like cove cave feeling for our little dragon, our mer dragon, to be living in. So I'm starting out by stamping my dragon down first. Then I'm going in with some Hefty Doodle, very low tack tape. You can also use like Post-it note tape or just full stick Post-it notes. I used 2 pieces here, and you can see I'm just overlapping them, and then you still just fussy cut out the mask. It works perfectly. I do that with my Post-its too. Sometimes it takes a couple to cover the space, and that's okay. And then I'm stamping my little cave outline into place right around my dragon. So cute. I love that the coral and seaweed and stuff is coming from all around. I really think it pulls that focus directly to the center. Love it. This card is a scene card. This video is going to be very coloring heavy. I hope that you're here for that. I hope you enjoy that. If not, this one might not be the one for you. But if you love coloring, maybe pause, grab a snack, because we're in for like 11 more minutes just of straight Copic coloring. So I started out with BG23 at the base, at the bottom of my waterline here. Then we're blending that out with BG11. And I'm kind of just doing like little scrubby circles. I was not going for like long sweeping strokes for this. I kind of like the idea that the water is like a little muddled. It didn't have to be a perfect blend. Lately, I've been psyching myself out a little bit when it comes to coloring these scenes, with the water or sky, that I am getting overwhelmed before I even start. So telling myself that I wanted it to be this kind of like scrubbed texture really helped me not stress about it, not overthink it. And I really like how it turned out too. Then I decided that the easiest thing for me to tackle besides the water were these rocks. So I'm going in with W9, a super dark gray, and I'm adding in my darkest shadows first. Also, I just want to warn you, if you hear anything weird in the background of my audio, we're dog sitting, and this dog is the loudest snoring dog I've ever met in my entire life. She's a sweetheart, but she is loud. And I have to get this voiceover done now. But yeah, so I'm blending out. I went in with some W8 to pull that 9 further out. Then I went in with 7, and now I'm adding some 5. I really wanted to keep the dark shadowed parts of these rocks very, very dark, so that it'll contrast with the lighter center floor that we're going to create, as well as the light rim on the edges of the rocks and the edges of the like top of our little cave. it will not look like a dramatic dark cave if there isn't a high contrast of colors. So if you're only using like 2 or 3 very similar medium tones, it's going to look really flat. If you want that very dramatic look, you need that higher contrast of going from a 9 all the way to a 4 or even lighter. So I am repeating those same steps over here on the left, adding in my shadows. So on the right hand side, all of our shadows go to the right, and on the left, it's to the left because we have a center light source coming from the middle of our card behind our little dragon. I also like to go in and just add some little kind of like commas. They're kind of shaped like commas or little dots here and there just to break up the solid rock. And I'm also not super stressed about this blending because on a lot of this rock, these look individual rocks, we're going to be coming in with some moss and some stipple texture as well. For the top part of our little cave, I'm going back in with that W9 and W8. Again, just emphasizing how truly dark that top section would be, where no light is touching it from outside, versus our very light floor we're going to create under that dragon where all of the light is kind of spilling in. So bringing in some W7 to blend that out, and then W5 right across that top section, kind of where it's curved toward the light that's outside. That just is going to really give us that rounded effect, kind of like a bubbly kind of thing. I repeated those same colors down here on the floor too, going in with W7 from the outer edges, then blending in with the 5. And then I will also bring in some more of that 4 just to fill in that space. And I think that it's a fun ending scene because there's so much gray, and then we bring in such bold pops of color with all of our other elements that it really balances out. So this is what I meant when I said we're going to stipple. It's just adding all of these little dots here and there so they kind of look pockmarked and textured. And then for our moss, we're going to go in with some YG01 just to kind of map out placement. I'm going to bring in YG67 and just again kind of stipple, adding little dots and spots here and there, brightening that up with some YG03. And I just did that on the parts of the rocks that are kind of facing towards the light that's coming in through our cave. For the coral, like I said, I really wanted to balance this out with some bold colors. So we're going to go super bright, bold oranges here, YR, I think 09 or 68 maybe, and then YR04. Some true G markers, since we did the YG for the moss, G14 and a little G07 down at kind of the root of that seaweed. Then we'll bring in some hot pink, some RV25, I believe, and then I think 23 is what we fill in with, or 21. Let's see, I don't remember. There we go, 23, RV23. And then the last one will be a really fun warm yellow. So a little Y38 here and there, and then to keep it still really bright, Y06. Love it. For our pearl, I wanted my pearl to have a little bit of an iridescent look to it. So I started off coloring it kind of like how I color bubbles. So I started out with some pink and some violet. Then I'm adding in some very pale B and BGs. And I'm just kind of creating a little bit of a circle inside my circle. I kind of tied the pink and blue together with some yellow. And then from there, I'm going to come in with E40 and kind of solidify a circle inside that. So it's like the artist drawn circle, and then I have an inner circle with color, and then I have one more very pale circle, almost like we're making a target, like rings of a target. Then I blend it all out with my Olo 0 because my Copic colorless blender is she's still a little dry. Then once all of that's blended, I can go back in with these E40 markers and kind of layer over that original kind of rainbow iridescent outer circle that we made. And that's what's going to give it that true rounded shadow. So I don't know if that's the best way to make a pearl, but that's how I made mine, and I really like how it came out. Now for my little dragon, I decided to go with some BGs and then some RVs. So she's going to be teal and hot pink. We're starting out with the BG 70, is it 9? And then 75 and 72. Just trying to make sure I'm leaving some good highlight in there around her sweet little face, her cheeks and everything. And then a BG 11 for the brightest part of our highlight, because I just don't love the BG 70. It just doesn't pop. There we go. It's 78. I just started with the head, and I'm going to work through the rest of the body just in little sections. With my Copics, I like to only do kind of smaller spaces at a time so that my ink doesn't dry down. In my limited Olo experience so far, I find that those don't have the same issue, but they also don't give as precise of detail. Like I would not use my Olos for some of the smaller detail areas of this little scene. So for her body, I'm adding all of that shadow under her body, so more on her tail and her back. And then, on the under part of the arm where her leg is kind of kicked up, there would be a shadow. And most of that BG 11 super highlight is really only going to be on the face and then the very highest points. So you can see like along her back doesn't have any of that extra bold highlight because they're just light wouldn't be hitting there. So on her arm, on her knee, and some of her foot, we'll show it again. I also forgot her little hand there at the top. I'll get that filled in a second. And then for the outer part of the wings, I decided to stick with the same BGs, but the inner part of the wing, I'm going to make pink. So here we're going in with that RV09. We're going to be using the same RV colors for all of these pink elements. So the spines on her back, her belly, her wings, and her inside of her ears and her horns. We went very color schemed here. She's very coordinated. Little dragon. I like to not bring in too many extra colors for mine, but I've also seen people bring in a ton of different colors on their dragons, and they're very cute. So do what makes you happy with your dragon. And that's the best thing about Mermaid and dragons and any of these fantasy creatures is no one can tell you you're wrong because nobody really knows what they look like. So sorry, the color combo here was RV09, RV25 again, and then RV13 is the highlight. Then I'm also going to come in with some E44 on the edges of her nails, and those little horn, or I don't know what it is, on her top of her wings. And then I like to give little freckles to my dragons too. They're not quite scales, but they kind of give that look. So a little bit more of the BG78 freckles on her elbow, her tail, and her forehead. Then I'm coming in with a Sharpie water-based white marker to add the highlight to the pearl, kind of overlapping where my shadows were on that outer circle. And I'm stamping my sentiment on here with just more black ink. I stamped everything with Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink onto Copic Express It paper. I'm going in with this decal edged die from Hello Bluebird. I don't even know if they still carry it anymore. I don't really even know if they're still in business anymore. But any kind of fun rectangle die would be great. And then I'm adding it to a teal gingham background, which I think just ties in our dragon color so well. This card makes me so happy. I hope that you will hop along and take a chance at checking out Sweet November Stamps' newest release. They're an amazing small company. I love them so much. I think you'll love them too if you haven't used their stuff yet. definitely check out the details down in the description for the hop. And until next time, guys, thank you so much and happy crafting.